Hello and welcome to episode 59 of Life in General. My name is Nick.
I'm Ian.
That's unenthusiastic, Ian.
Well, I'm just, I get yelled at when I change it up a little bit. So.
Ooh, what was that?
All crazy. What's up with that? Why are you saying it like that? So I figured I would just, be normal.
Is that what your normal is?
I don't know what the fuck normal is.
As always, any questions or comments, you can email at contact@lifeandjournalpodcast.com. Check us out on Facebook. On Twitter, we are at LIGpod. We're on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play Music, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Just about anywhere you can find us. Anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find us.
Absolutely.
And even go to our website, which is lifeandjournalpodcast.com, to get all of our previous episodes.
See the new...
See, good call, Ian. I was going to fucking forget all about it.
You see our new logo.
I've been working for the past, month or so on a new logo, and I didn't like it for a while.
It's kind of growing on you now?
Well, it's not that it's growing on me. I've had to make a bunch of changes to it.
Right.
But I've gone back and forth with different colors and things, and I finally got it where I was happy with it, and everyone else kind of agreed, so...
I don't think I've seen it yet.
Yeah, I showed it to you.
Oh, you showed me the final product?
Yeah, I showed you when I finished it, the night I finished it.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't remember.
I said, "Hey, Ian, here, I think I finished our logo."
And I went,
"Here it
cool.
is." And you were like, "Yeah, oh, cool." So, yeah, you've seen it.
I've seen it.
So
I've seen it. Now all you have to see it.
Yeah. So I went live yesterday. Yeah, yesterday was Friday, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I post on Twitter. It's on Twitter. It's on, if you go through Apple Music, it's on Apple Music. I don't think it's going to be on Podbean or any of that until I post our this episode.
Yeah. So you'll see it if you're listening to this. Chances are.
Yeah, you'll see it.
And you're listening to it on Podbean.
Correct. Ian, what's the other big news that we have?
That we're doing a show weekly?
Yes, this is our first weekly show.
Right.
Starting today, we'll be weekly going forward.
Yeah, it's exciting.
At least as long as I can do it.
Yeah, well, hey.
We'll see.
At least we can always fall back to the bi-weekly thing.
That's true. I don't know. I'm excited about doing weekly shows.
I honestly don't see why we can't do weekly.
I don't know.
Well,
we were doing weekly shows.
Unless your wife decides to leave you and just leaves the kids with you too, and you're stuck being a single parent. Maybe then, but
once I start nursing school, we'll see how how weekly shows work.
We'll see.
But for at least for the foreseeable future, we're going to go to weekly shows. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it. So as far as like topics for the week,
real quick, let me interject.
Oh, okay, yeah. There you go.
It's just a real quick correction from our Craigslist episode.
Which was that our last episode?
No, it was 2 episodes ago, I think.
Okay.
But it's been bothering me ever since I re-listened to it and realized what I told the story about the bug thing, and I didn't realize that I got that from it wasn't a Craigslist story. It was a thread for just like scary stories. So it was like a made up story.
Okay, that makes sense then.
Right. So I'm like, because I've seen weird stories on Craigslist things before that could be borderline supernatural. But that one stuck out, and I just I blended into my brain with all those other stories that I was going over, and it wasn't a Craigslist story. It was just a fan fiction type story from a website.
By the way, that was our last episode.
Was it our last episode?
Creepy Craigslist Stories was our last episode. That was episode 58.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, yeah, because
Aunt Mandy was on that
Mandy
episode.
Was on that episode.
I don't know why I forgot that.
So yeah, if you don't remember the story, it had something to do with like
a guy wanting a job and these old people with bugs all over.
Yeah, and the like bugs falling out of their mouth and stuff. Yeah, so it sounded really off the wall.
Yeah, and it was one of those stories where it's like, obviously it's not real, but the fact that I originally thought, again, because it got blended in with all the other stories, that it was as part of these true
it's
stories.
Easy to do.
But I just wanted to throw that out there because it's been bothering me.
It was fake Ian news.
It was exactly. I was like, no, I can't do that. I've got to correct myself.
There's people out there retelling. Oh man, I heard somewhere that there was this happened and this was posted on Craigslist and this happened.
The story, it's totally true. Vote for Trump.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So we haven't done anything political in a while.
No, it's been a while.
And there really hasn't been anything of note really.
Well, there's been a lot of things to note, but it's just the same old bullshit.
Yeah, so
every day, every fucking day. And it's only going to get worse because what Mueller's talking about. They're talking about Mueller's report coming out this week. It was supposed to come out last night, and then they're saying next week. I don't know.
Who knows?
When that fucking thing comes out, that's going to dominate the fucking news forever.
Maybe not.
It's even if they could have absolutely nothing in it. It could come out and just say, nope, president was completely right. Nothing going on, and it'll still dominate the news for 2 fucking weeks.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I have a feeling it's going to be like a big nothing burger.
Well, it makes no difference if it's not.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
So there was a Green New Deal that was proposed, and I've got a list of all these prominent politicians that have come out in favor of this.
Mm-hmm. Most of them, I would assume, are progressives.
Yeah. So
left of slightly left of the Democratic Party.
Cory Booker's come out in favor. Kirsten Gillibrand has come out. Al Gore, Kamala Harris, Van Jones, Stephanie Kelto, which is Bernie Sanders' economic advisor for his 2016 campaign, Joe Kennedy III, Paul Krugman, Bill Maher, Ed Markey, AOC has come out. Bernie Sanders himself has come out in favor of it. Jill Stein, Elizabeth Warren, Ron Wyden, and there's a bunch of Democratic and progressive organizations and think tanks that have come out in favor of it too. Mm-hmm. And it kind of got me into, like, I've heard people talk about it, but what exactly is it? Mm-hmm. And what's its purpose? And that's kind of what my idea behind the topic.
Well, trying to be simplistic about it, and this is because I was trying to explain it to someone else this week as simplistically as possible, because I was doing it through a type message. So I essentially pointed out, if you're aware of what the New Deal was, Roosevelt's New Deal, it's a version of that for a green economy.
Well, yeah. Because on February 7th, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I think that's how you say her name, right? Her and Ed Markey released a 14-page resolution for their idea of a Green New Deal. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't really specific in what it entailed, but basically it was just a set of proposed economic stimulus programs in the U.S. aimed to address climate change and economic inequality.
Okay.
Is what their idea was behind it.
Okay.
And yeah, like I said, it kind of combined Roosevelt's economic approach with modern ideas, like renewable energy.
Yeah. Infrastructure. That's essentially the New Deal was a lot of infrastructure.
It was
jobs and programs to put people back to work. And in the same sense with this is same principle, but working on infrastructure using green technologies, as I understood it. Because it'll all kind of work itself out on the surface when you look at it. That's what I get from it.
Yeah,
it'll all work itself out. It'll boost jobs. It'll create new industries, and it'll focus on taking care, or at least making an attempt to kind of combat climate change a bit.
Yeah.
So,
but the funny thing is, this is actually, it sounds like to me, and from what I read about it, based on a proposal from Jill Stein's presidential campaign in 2012, which was one of her top priorities that she listed, was the creation of a Green New Deal.
Right.
But yeah, the 14-page resolution focused on transition to 100% renewable energy, including electric cars, high-speed rail. It had talked about universal health care, fair minimum wage, even though I kind of have an issue with the way it's phrased. Who decides what fair is?
Right.
And breaking up monopolies. There's some other things too, but it's just, those are like the key, key points, which a majority of America would get behind.
And it makes sense that you would put the New Deal title over that, because a lot of that was stuff that Roosevelt had to do too. In a sense.
Yes.
In a sense.
But I think putting that label on it also kind of polarizes it.
Oh, it definitely would, because the Republicans, even the moderate Republicans of the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, maybe you can go back as far as the 50s, they did not like the New Deal.
No.
They did not like Roosevelt's plans, and they tried really hard to circumvent a lot of Roosevelt's
and a lot of it's
things.
been, a
lot
lot
of it's gone.
A lot of it's gone now.
Yeah, they've succeeded, but it took them many
But
years.
the title New Deal is still kind of like this boogeyman out there.
Right.
And I think
It's like up there with welfare.
Yes, yeah. So even though there's not a welfare program,
Right.
it's a umbrella term for many different programs.
Right.
So yeah,
The New Deal was.
yes, exactly. So I think they kind of made a mistake with the branding, which Democrats typically do. Mm-hmm. Democrats are terrible with branding. They're terrible with messaging.
Right.
It's just another example of that. And there's actually been several rather prominent economists that have actually come out against this.
Okay.
One being, I don't remember the guy's name, Edward something. He was the guy that developed the Global Green New Deal for the UN in 09 or 010.
010?
09, 2009 or 2010. Fuck off. But I got the quote here for him. It says he opposes a massive federal jobs program, and that the government would end up doing more and more of what the private sector and industry should be doing, which is kind of true. But he said
sometimes you need that because the private sector isn't doing it fast enough.
No. But he said what he prefers and what he thinks would be more effective would be carbon pricing, like a carbon tax, or a cap and trade system.
Yeah, but see, they've been trying for that for a long time. They can't sell that.
Well, that's kind of my issue with the whole Green New Deal.
Right.
Is I think they're trying to sell a bag of goods that, frankly, I don't see any of it being able to be passed.
Right. Not that it shouldn't be, because I think
not that it shouldn't be.
Overall, I think it's a good plan.
I also think it's a pie in the sky,
it could be
wish upon a rainbow kind of thing too.
I kind of think about it, and I'm like, and I've been very pessimistic about things like that, and agreeing with what you're saying. However, I keep wondering, Trump is kind of a pie in the sky situation for the other side, in a sense. The type of candidate that he is, the type of president that he is appealing to a small percentage of people, but most of us never would have imagined that they would get that. He was kind of that pie in the sky for them.
Okay.
And they got him. So what's to say that eventually we couldn't get our pie in the sky, this, grand new idea of way things should be done.
So, okay. So let me put my political cap on.
Okay.
And
it's a hideous cap.
No, fuck off. So, this is just somebody that's been paying attention to politics for 30 years or so.
Sure.
What I would think would be a better plan, if I was a strategist, would be to go after parts of this.
Okay.
Parts that you think you can pass. And try to focus on the 2020 presidential election.
Okay.
And once you actually get power, then try to propose some of these things and go after some of the bigger pieces of it.
Right.
Because right now, you're spending political capital on what? Because it'll never pass the Senate. And even if it did, you've got a president that wouldn't sign it.
Right.
So what are you doing?
I got the impression that a lot of this is kind of coming to light, even though it's not.
Cory Booker and these guys are using this in their platform for 2020.
But it's looking forward to 2020. It's not like, hey, let's do this now. It's all in preparation for. But I see what you mean about using it as political capital, because it gives the other side something to attack.
Exactly.
So yeah, I get what you mean there for sure. I don't know though. I mean, if they do it right, and that's asking a lot, because Democrats, like you pointed out, do not generally do it right.
Nope. Really bad at that.
If you can push the parts of this deal that focus on getting jobs.
See, and that's what I'm saying.
And maybe even focus it to the agricultural issues, because that's the farmers. They're the ones that Trump screwed, but also still vote for him.
Yep.
So if the Democrats can get some of them on their side and point out that some of these new greener ways of doing things would benefit them just as much as the world in general.
Yeah.
I really think that would make a difference, but they really have to work on getting that message out the right way.
And that's my thing. Instead of trying to say, okay, here's this grand Green New Deal that we want to push and we want to do all these programs, why not come out and say, you know, we've got an economic plan to better the future of America, and just kind of leave it at that.
Right.
And then use some of these really popular policy ideas under that umbrella and just move forward from there.
Right.
And then, like I said, look forward to 2020. If you win the election, then try to tackle some of these bigger things like universal health care and things like that. That, you know, like I said, universal health care probably wouldn't pass the House, even though the Democrats have control of it. Definitely wouldn't pass the Senate, and it definitely wouldn't be signed in by a president.
Right. Well, unless the president was a Democrat, but it wouldn't, like you said, it wouldn't make it past the Senate.
No.
I honestly think healthcare, universal healthcare, is going to have to be taken off the table for a while.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just not forgotten.
Healthcare in general has been polarized also in the last 6 years.
Right, but universal healthcare is not going to sell
10 years.
right now. It's just not.
No.
People, if the public truly wanted it, we would have it.
The only way that the universal health care is going to is going to happen in the United States is if it's going to have to go through the same process that it went through when Canada passed it, which was it started in one province in Canada. They showed that it could work, and it spread to the other provinces.
Which it's the same thing doing in the U.S. because there's certain cities that have already adopted.
Okay, but you aren't going to have it take hold in the United States until you have several states, and not just California pass it.
Right.
You know, because you got to have someone outside California, whether it be Vermont,
because the South doesn't trust California.
No, they don't. They don't, and a lot of the Midwest doesn't trust California either. But until you have other states adopt a policy and show that it works, it's not going to pass the United States.
Right.
Regardless, it doesn't matter if there's 90% approval for universal health care. It's not going to fucking pass.
Which there isn't. That's the
No.
hard part. It's high.
It's high,
but it's not 90%.
It's over 50%.
Yeah, but it's not enough, and that's what I mean. It just really needs to come off the table for a while.
Yeah.
And let it, maybe like you said, let it kind of maybe grow in the states on the state level.
Use the states as a petri dish and kind of grow it there,
and then hopefully it'll take out.
Yes.
Because I mean it needs to, but it's a lost cause. Bernie couldn't win on it. And Hillary didn't even try.
Yeah.
And when she did try, she was obviously not behind it enough to passionately enough to sell it. And it's not a sellable thing. So I think that just needs to come off the table altogether. And there's too many people who say we can't afford it.
Well, see, and that's the funny thing is I was reading an article in the last couple of days while I was doing show prep for this, and it was talking about universal health care in other countries in the world, larger countries. I don't remember the countries exactly that it went through, but and it broke down how much it cost per person. I think it used the Canadian model. Okay. And it said in the United States, if you're making $40,000 a year as an individual, you would pay, I want to say it was like $150 a month for health insurance.
Okay. Which is more than I'm paying now.
Okay. It's less than I'm paying, but
right. Well, $150 a month, but I thought it was wrapped up into the taxes.
It is. Well, through taxes, that's what you'd be paying a month. Because I think it was
taxing me enough.
Because it was like 4 or 5%. Oh yeah. I mean, you as an individual making what you make, your taxes would definitely go up on it.
Yeah. Well, understandable, but that's a huge jump.
It would be 4 or 5%, whatever the number was.
That wouldn't be $150. $150 would be closer to 20% more of what I'm already paying.
No, I think it was like right around whatever that number was, like $150.
Well, for me, at about $40,000 a year, what I'm already paying per check.
Oh yeah,
that's another 20 to 30% more than what I'm already paying.
Correct.
So my taxes are still going up more than 4%. They're going up more like
no.
15%.
What I'm saying is it would be 4 to 5% of your monthly income would be your tax bill for your insurance.
That still would 4%. I don't think that would be. I'd have to look at the math on that, but.
What do you think it would be? I mean, it's
$80. Oh well, no.
It'd be $133.
Yeah.
I just did the math. It'd be $133 a month.
Yeah. Well, I already have 25% of my check taken out every week.
Yeah.
I mean, that's more than granted, I'll get a lot of that back. I haven't even filed my taxes yet, but I'll get a lot of that back. But 25% is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money coming out of my check.
Yeah.
Already.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying, and that's where the issue, that's where the stumbling block that they run into when they try to approach a situation like this, because it would have to be a number like that to make the system work.
Right.
So if you're in favor of universal health care, that's the kind of number you're looking at. Mm-hmm. And that's why I said individuals, and that's where the issue comes up when you talk to younger 20-somethings in middle America. When you talk to them about health care, they're looking at it saying, well, I don't even use this.
Right.
Why am I having to pay such a big bill every month for your universal health care?
No, I can understand that, because that's a lot. I have really good health insurance, and I'm only paying $45 a month for it, and I've got really good insurance. Mm-hmm. And granted, it's just me paying for that's your rate is higher because you're paying for an entire family, but what you're paying for an entire family is really low, and for really good insurance.
Yeah.
So. And that's per person, you said, right? That's not per household. So you would still be paying $150 per person in the household.
Well, every working individual, so it'd be me and my wife, yeah. We'd each pay that.
Okay.
But so right now you pay you pay a little over 1% a month.
That's my point, though. That's where the correlation to that I was breaking down in my brain. And let me play devil's advocate here, because I think I am. If it's $150 for every working individual, what is the percentage of people who are not working to the people who are working?
Okay.
And
generally the people that aren't working are on universal health care already.
Right. But I guess couldn't that be factored in then? Because we're already technically paying for them too in our taxes to a degree.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that lower that monthly rate that we would be paying already?
The number 4 to 5%
because basically what I'm saying is the tax that comes from us if we went universal should be based on strictly just the working people, because the other non-working people are already covered.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that would increase the cost, wouldn't it? If you have less people.
Okay, but look at it this way: what do you pay into? What's your Medicaid that comes out of your paycheck? How much that is?
I don't know. I have to look at.
You'd have to look, because that would be gone.
It's not that much, though.
I know that,
and it's not that much what I pay for my insurance, which also would be gone. It might cover, we'll say,
but it would
ballpark. I would pay. It would make up.
It'd make up a chunk of it.
Yeah, out of the $150 a month, it would probably bring that down to. I mean, if just take that money that I'd be, putting back into my check relative to what's coming out. The $150 would be the equivalent of, say, maybe like $90 a month.
You think it's that low?
No, I mean, I'm saying what that $150 would become.
Okay.
If you figure out the $44 I pay for my insurance, and then whatever's coming out from Medicaid and all that.
Yeah. But I
would say it's close to $50 or $60 total.
I'm just saying that that's
not that much.
That's the balancing act that they're running into an issue with, and that's why you're right. I mean, that's why it needs to be shelved for a while, I think,
right,
until someone is able to actually go in.
That's based on our current level of spending too. There's a lot of programs that we could really look at cutting back on paying, specifically military spending. There's a huge chunk of military spending that is completely unnecessary, and that could lower those costs right there.
And real quick, I pay $40 a month
for your Medicaid.
For Medicaid,
yeah. So I was pretty close then.
Yeah.
So I mean, it would actually be closer to like $100 a month, but instead of $150, the equivalent of.
So yeah, that's why I just think before we get too off on the subject, that's why I think it's better to focus
I just don't think they can win on it. I just don't think
No.
they can't win on it right now. So there's no point in
No. And, I mean, hell, even Nancy Pelosi came out and mocked the Green New Deal a couple weeks back.
Well, she's going to because she's a corporatist, and you know, I'll commend her on how she's handled Trump, but she's to the right of Reagan.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
On a lot of things, she's to the right of the Reagan, and she's owned by the fucking corporations.
Yes, well, a lot of both sides of them are.
Yes, but she's been in their pockets almost her entire career, and nothing she does is ever going to change. She's not going to do anything to hurt that.
Well, no, because she really because she doesn't have to, because she, you know, it gets elected in California where, you know, if my shoe came out as a Democrat, could win in most elections in California.
Right.
I mean,
fair enough.
It's just the way it is.
Fair enough.
So what does she have to worry about?
She's I don't like her.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of her either.
She's kind of the worst example, or the best example of the worst of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
I would not have supported her for speaker. Like I said, I get the argument that no one would have stood up to Trump the way she has.
No.
But, you know, it's kind of like making a deal with the devil, and I don't like her. I really don't like her.
No, I understand. So a while back, after this all came out, the Green New Deal, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez put on her website a detailed list of what her idea of a Green New Deal would look like.
Yeah.
And for one reason or another, it was quickly taken down off her website.
And you mentioned this, but now I want to know why it was taken down. Do we know why it was taken down?
Well, I'm going to get into that once I get into what some of the proposals were, specifically two in general.
Okay.
But so probably your favorite representative, Liz Cheney from Wyoming, actually went on
my favorite.
Yeah, Liz Cheney. So she so there's a website you can go through. It's called the Wayback Machine, where you can go.
That's the name of the website?
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you just Google Wayback Machine, you can go through and look at archived websites.
Uh-huh.
So someone in her office or somebody that did it for her went through and actually got the Green New Deal proposal off of AOC's website, and Liz Cheney entered it into congressional record. So it's public knowledge now, and it's not, you know, because
that's what makes me wonder what's in her proposal that is so appealing to the GOP.
Well,
to get it out there.
I'll kind of jump forward because it was one of the last points I was going to bring up. So it says that one of them is economic security to all who are unable or unwilling to work. Because I have a big issue with that also.
Oh, of course. Anyone would.
Yeah.
Any rational person does not want to support someone who is unwilling to
So she
work.
had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 key proposals up there. That was the last one she listed.
Okay.
So that was the kind of the one that she wanted you to leave her website remembering, right?
Okay, fair enough.
And at least that's kind of the way I would set up a list. It was something like that. So yeah, I mean, so if it just said economic security to all those who are unable to work, I'd be fine with it.
Right.
But once you put in that or unwilling, you
lose everybody.
Lose everybody.
Well, you lose anybody who has to work for a living and, you know, puts in their time.
Yeah. Because that plays into the narrative that the Democrats just want to create this big nanny state.
Right.
I'm sure that's probably why it got pulled down.
That's the key.
I think that's the key.
Well, and
also the fact that she wants to talk about how they aren't able to cut emissions from cows yet. Also,
you say that, and I think I heard something about that. You're never going to cut emissions from cows.
No, because that's what it said in there was one of the. So I kind of read through his website, and one of the things I pulled out, it said, this is a direct quote from her website. It says the Green New Deal sets a goal to get to net zero rather than zero emissions at the end of this 10-year plan because we aren't sure that we will be able to fully get rid of, for example, emissions from cows or air travel before then, which means that you plan on getting rid of emissions from cows at some point in the future. How the fuck do you do that?
put a cork in their ass so they don't fart anymore.
That's
I can think of a lot of Americans who probably need that as well.
touche. So that's where this shit kind of really bothers me.
Right. Well, it goes to a point of it's not even extremism. It is extremism in a sense, but it's extremism in the idea that I don't think they're actually thinking about this stuff.
No.
They're kind of just going with it.
Someone has to be thinking of it.
Yeah, it's like the hippie chick in college who, she just kind of clings on to something. Like the one guy who just seems to sound smarter than all the other guys and just goes with it. Even though if you actually listen to the shit he says,
it's stupid.
It's fucking stupid.
Could you imagine going, not even like into a debate, but like even on the campaign trail and getting up on a stage and having a discussion about stopping emissions from cows?
Well, the argument is that
wanting to support people that don't want to work.
You don't farm cows. That would be the argument, because you're going to get all the vegan hippies, and that's probably where it came from. At some point, it trickled into it from there. The idea that meat farming or meat cultivation is a detriment to the environment, which it is to some degree. There are things we can do to kind of clean it up, but if we stop farming cows and let them kind of just be free range, the emissions will go down.
They would still walk around and fart.
They would still walk around and fart, but they wouldn't be fed garbage food, which they are.
Yeah.
And which would reduce the emissions, and the mass quantities of them wouldn't be there.
It's not a measurable amount.
It can be, but it's not the problem.
No, that is not.
Cars that pump dead dinosaur fumes into the atmosphere are the problem. Coal-fired plants are the fucking problem. Our wastefulness as a species is the problem. It has nothing to do with our... But see, people attack the things they either don't like or don't understand. So you're going to have this huge part of this green idea. Oh, we have to go after the meat. The meat industry is what's causing a lot of the problems.
Yeah.
It's not. They just don't like fucking meat, and they like animals so much they don't think that we should eat them.
It's an inherent bias.
Yes,
towards an industry.
Right. And that's kind of the problem.
It's the same thing with the coal industry.
And that's the problem with the Democratic Party in general.
Or people in general.
Not the Republicans though. They whether they're biased or not, they toe the line. Whereas Democrats don't. They follow their bias, their own bias, and it's to our own detriment. We're all guilty of it. Some of us more than others. Instead of looking at a big picture, and like for example, the Pelosi thing, I don't like her. I do not like her, but she's serving a purpose, and if it came down to it and I had to vote between her and a Republican in her place, I would vote for her.
Every time.
I know someone who would shoot himself in the face before he voted for Nancy Pelosi for anything.
That's part of the problem.
And exactly. And specifically
that's how Trump
how
wins
he
elections.
felt about Hillary and how he feels going forward. If it's not X, Y, or Z candidate, he would rather vote for Trump.
Fuck millennials, man.
He's younger than that.
No.
So I don't know what the next generation is after millennials, but that's him. He's a good kid, but he's smart. But he's
smart because he listens to our show.
Yes, he does.
He
We're calling you out if you're listening. You know who you are. But it's that narrow bias that you can't see the big picture.
What do you bang on the desk for?
Because it's there.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. I was.
You're into it.
I was channeling. Well, I was channeling my early shows of Nick, because you used to bang on the desk.
I did bang on the desk a lot.
Yeah. So,
until I put headphones on and realized you could really hear that.
Yeah. But that's our problem, and that's what's going to hurt this Green Deal. It's going to hurt it all, because we can't get past our own specific bias of little things and look at the big picture. Yeah. Republicans, for what it's worth, they see the big picture.
Oh yeah. They go after it. They're able to stick together for the most part.
If we follow this, and this,
they were able to stick together and elect Trump.
Exactly,
so,
because they knew that the big picture is we get our tax cuts.
Yeah.
We create dissent amongst the people with the wall, and we can keep doing what we want to do to keep the money filtering upwards rather than outwards.
I found it really interesting, and I don't want to get off on this because we could talk about this forever.
Right.
It's just the fact that the party that used to be the party of family values votes for Trump.
Well, I think Bill Maher said it last week. I haven't watched this week's episode. He said it last week.
You haven't watched him in months.
Yeah, he said something with the evangelicals.
Thanks, Dish Network.
Yeah, the evangelicals don't like him. He's not what they would have chosen. But they stick with him because
he's got the R in front of his name.
That, and he gave him the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
they got exactly what they wanted. Their bias was paid off by sticking to the big picture narrative. Democrats don't work that way.
That's not exactly how religion should work either, but let's not get off on that.
No, and I would agree that's not how it should work, but that's how it's worked pretty much since it started. So, you're never going to change that. Nick,
I know
no
that. That's why as much as you dislike religion as a whole, I dislike modern churches, basically.
The old churches burned people for not believing. They wiped out entire villages for not believing. So you want that old-timey religion back.
No. I just don't like, they haven't moved very far from that.
No. The only thing keeping them from doing that again
is
laws. And even that can change.
So I kind of want to get into some of the proposals that she has listed on here. Like the key header on it, the way that she described the Green New Deal on her website. It said a 10-year plan to create a greenhouse gas neutral society that creates unprecedented levels of prosperity and wealth for all while ensuring economic and environmental justice and security. Okay, I guess
fair enough. You and I get that, but she needs to change the wording. She needs to basically dumb it down.
Yes.
That to me, that what you and I get from that is lots of jobs in new industries that will grow and grow and grow and clean up the environment at the same time. That she should just keep it that. She needs to keep it simple.
Yeah. And I agree. And that's where the branding problem comes from.
Because either people aren't going to understand what she's saying, or they're going to think she's talking down to them because she's using big words.
Yeah.
So, but okay, continue.
No, I mean you're right on. I was I was going to just make the point that if you're talking to a coal miner in West Virginia, I'm not trying to say coal miners are dumb.
No, they're not.
But if you're talking to, individual X, Y, and Z in rural America,
a lot of them,
you're not gonna appeal to them describing something that way.
Right. Yeah, they're not dumb. They went to the coal mines either right after high school or even before high school was ended, and that's their life they've lived. It's an education thing. It's not an intelligence
That's not
thing.
just the life they've lived. That's the life that they lived. Their father lived. Their grandfather lived. Their great grandfather lived.
And then
it's
that's
part
what I mean.
of their.
It's as simple as just talking to these people and saying, "Look, we understand this is in your blood, but let's give you something similar but safer and cleaner, something that you can do and retire from and actually enjoy your in retirement instead of dying at the age of 60." Yeah. Because you got black lung and.
What's wrong with black lung?
I don't know. I'm trying to give myself black lung all the time, every day.
So the first proposal on there, it said, and I think this is something that probably everyone can kind of get behind. It
depends on how it's worded, but sure.
It says it guarantees to everyone a job with family-sustaining wages. Okay, what's that exactly? Right. Family and medical leave, vacations, and retirement security.
Fair enough.
And
that's simple enough. Yeah,
simple enough.
I mean, and people who have decent jobs get that.
Yeah,
it's the key is trying to get it for everybody. Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
I guess my issue is what do you classify as a family sustaining wage?
Well,
and how do you go about doing that?
The hard part of that is that I read a study. This was many years ago, so it's probably even gone up since then. But it wasn't a study; it was an article, and it basically broke down a family of 4 in order to be able to afford an annual weekly vacation and not put themselves in debt in order to get it, in meaning their bills are still paid, everything's on track.
Yeah,
would need to have an annual income of $120,000 a year. Family of 4, 1 week. So that to me,
I think that's high.
It is probably high, but that's
high.
also saying not going into debt, meaning you're not using credit cards.
I still think it's pretty damn high.
That was 10 years ago, maybe even longer. That I read that article.
Yeah, I would argue that number is probably much lower.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I can't source the article because it's been so long since I read it. But I remember the numbers.
That I would argue that number is probably closer to, say, 95 to 105, maybe 110,000 if you really
still,
push it.
even if it was $95,000 a year.
I know when you're talking about
not everyone's
the average household income in the country is what, like $45,000.
That's and I would say that's even
if
probably,
you take out the top like 1 or 2%.
Yeah, I would say that's probably fair. And if you're averaging, I would say maybe even a little lower.
Yeah.
I would go say 35,000 would probably be more accurate.
I read not too long ago, or I saw it on TV, they were talking about it. I don't remember exactly the source, but they made a comment about how a majority of Americans couldn't survive a $2,000 emergency.
Right.
I mean, that's a big issue.
There are a lot of things that can happen that could cost that kind of money.
Yeah. So and that's why I understand it's probably a high number, but I'm just not sure it's $120,000
right.
high. I think it's a little high, but
still, my point is that, like I said, even if we went point of argument where we'll lower it to say 90,000, conservatively, you can't have everyone making 90,000 plus.
No.
So how do you, like you pointed out, what is a sustainable income for a family or even in an individual? Because an individual wouldn't need that much, but there comes a point where an individual is still making a lot less than a couple, because we're in a society where everyone works or, families work, husbands and wives alike. So in a dual income, you might be able to hit that 90,000 or more, but a single income, you're never going to get anywhere near that unless you're working a really, high-end job.
Uh-huh.
So in order to afford those same things, I guess an individual might have more freedom to do that.
Yeah.
But how do you quantify that? I guess is what I'm arguing.
And that's kind of my issue with it too. The next couple ones it's pretty straightforward. I don't think there's really any kind of issue. I'll just kind of knock them out real quick.
Uh-huh.
The next one says it guarantees high quality education, including higher education and trade schools, which I think trade schools are a great thing.
And Bernie's been pushing for that.
And Democrats for a long time have been pushing college education, which I understand.
2 years free. Yeah.
But the other thing is they also need to push trade schools.
Oh, I agree.
Because there's a lot of trade jobs in this country that are going unfilled because there just aren't people able to fill the job.
And there's a lot of those jobs are high paying jobs.
They are high paying
and are necessary. I mean, hugely necessary.
Yeah. The next one says it guarantees high quality health care, which it doesn't come out and say universal health care. It just says high quality. So,
and I guess that begs other questions. What is classified as high quality?
Yeah.
Because I would say that what we have, for the most part, is pretty high quality.
It's decent quality. I mean, we pay more per person for our health care than most of the rest of the industrialized world.
We do.
And we get,
I'm not looking at the cost.
And we get lower health care outcomes than a lot of those countries.
I have a feeling that has a lot more to do with how we treat ourselves.
Maybe.
Too.
It may.
But that's, again, it's difficult to quantify that. So
yeah, it is. The next one says guarantees clean air and water. You
can't guarantee that, though.
Well, yeah.
We can guarantee that we stop people from dumping toxic waste into our water.
Can you?
We could if we didn't have politicians in the pockets of corporations who don't do that.
And this is kind of the big thing. This was one of the big ideas that Bernie Sanders kind of started on. And I know this whole socialist thing gets thrown around.
Yeah, it does.
And everyone has kind of demonized it. It's not socialism that he's pushing.
Right.
It's democratic socialism. And I know you're kind of splitting hairs on it. But
but you're not.
So the main kind of principle, and I've heard Bernie Sanders talk about this for over a decade now.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And Bernie Sanders used to always say, his idea of what democratic socialism is taking the things that everyone uses, water, air, insurance, healthcare, education, and not allowing corporations to make a profit off of it. Taking the commons is what he always said. The things that everyone needed to survive every day on.
Which theoretically are things that government should be taking care of.
Exactly. And his idea, his main principle was returning that, because a lot of our water plants and electrical companies or electrical grids, they're all owned and run and operated by for-profit companies.
Right.
Taking those and returning them back to us, the people, which in turn runs the government, because we elect our politicians.
Right.
And that's kind of the main principle behind democratic socialism, and it gets lost on this. You want to turn us into Venezuela and this and that. And Cuba,
and when it does get through, even though it's a little bit, the other side's talking points are, well, government can't do anything right, so why would you want to give them your water?
Well, because the government ran the water for a long fucking time. The government,
but the argument you could bring up Flint and all that other stuff, but they'll leave out the part about the profit part of that.
Yes, exactly.
That's because it came down to it. We're blaming the government.
Yes, but it was actually crony capitalism bullshit.
Exactly. But they don't see that. They just see, well, Snyder and his whoever else it was.
He was trying to help his buddies make a quick buck.
Exactly,
was what it came down to.
So, again, and it's funny because it's a Republican governor doing crony capitalism, like you pointed out, and when we go to blame him, it just becomes, it's government's fault.
Yes, yeah.
And then they basically it's self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy,
and they do it on purpose.
Yeah,
I really do think they do it on purpose.
Well, they do it.
They do it knowing full well that the end result is going to work out, even if they get caught.
Because all they care about is the bottom line,
right?
Because that's how corporations run nowadays.
That's how they've always run. It's just
there for a long time. If you wanted to have a corporation. Mm-hmm. It had to be shown that you were doing some good to the community to be able to be incorporated. And we've gone away from that. Now it's, it doesn't matter if they're polluting, the stream and polluting the air and, dumping radioactive material everywhere and killing everyone and giving everyone cancer in the community. It doesn't fucking matter, just as long as the profits go up and the shareholders get a bonus every year.
Right, their golden parachutes.
Yes, that's what it comes down to, and that's a sickness in our society.
It is, but it's not going to go away.
It's not going to go away
because even the good guys, what we classify as the good guys, are still in the pockets of the corporations.
Exactly. The next one, at first I didn't have a problem with it, and then I kind of thought about it, and it says it guarantees healthy food. Okay. Who decides what healthy food is?
Right,
and you going to ban McDonald's? Even though
there have been Democrats,
I know
the extreme ones, who have suggested that. Look at what they did in New York, where they made it illegal to sell sodas in larger than 16-ounce bottles.
Yeah,
that's essentially kind of the same thing.
All
that does, it does nothing. It
doesn't.
You cannot legislate people's choices,
and that's the problem. And that's why I was like, okay, what do you consider healthy food? Do you consider it like safe food, like it doesn't have like harmful chemicals in it?
That's what it should be.
Which is what it should be. Or is it we're not going to let you eat McDonald's or anything that's going to be bad for you?
We're going to decide what is considered a healthy diet, and this is what's available to you.
I guess that's where my very small libertarian flag goes up.
Right.
Well, hold on one second. Yeah. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. No, I'm with you there because I have a small libertarian flag myself.
Yeah.
Mine might actually be a little bit bigger than yours.
I guess my thing is I don't think the government should tell me how to live my life. Just as long as I'm not hurting anyone else.
Yes.
If I want to...
Well, and the same argument goes... you could point out... you're a born-again non-smoker, so you understand...
Born-again?
Well, you are. You have been for 10 years,
Longer than that. It took my dad to get lung cancer and almost die and have a lung cut out. But it's like...
But let me finish my point.
I think the born-again thing is kind of a bullshit term. But
perhaps. I was... being argumentative to a point, just because we're on to this for a second.
Continue.
But society has deemed that to be inappropriate in public places, so it has been pushed out of the restaurants and
which I'm fine with that.
Right. And for what it's worth, at least as far as restaurants go, I get it. You go with your family, you're a non-smoking family, you go to have a meal. The smoke can be annoying. I get that, and you have kids, you don't want to expose them to it. I don't get it in bars because you have to be 21 to go in there, and you're already going in there to put a poison in you anyway.
Well, I don't know how the law is in Michigan. Is it zero?
Zero.
Because when I lived in Tennessee, it was allowed in bars if it was only 21 and over all the time.
No. The only buildings in Michigan you can smoke in are smoke shops, and I think they've even moved that away from that. Smoke shops and casinos. And it's up to the casino to decide that. So the casino can say we're a non-smoking environment, or they allow it. That's it. Those are the only two places. But I'm not arguing any of that. I'm just pointing out that as a case. So all the smoking's been pushed out, but now there's a group in Hawaii that wants to raise the legal smoking age to 100.
So how? I mean,
I don't know why. Unless
that's the dumbest fucking thing.
But that's my point.
Me
that's
as someone who I don't smoke. Right. I think smoking is stupid, but that's up to you to make your choice. That's my point.
What I do in my own home or in my vehicle or outside away from people has no bearing on them.
Yeah.
That's my choice.
I mean, if you can figure out a way to shoot heroin in your house without hurting anyone or, anything like that, fuck it. I don't give a shit. Shoot heroin in your house.
Right. Well, that's kind of the point I was going at, because that's the crazy of our party.
Yeah.
But again, the problem with Trump being the extreme crazy of his party is that he's bringing out some of the crazy of our party.
Yeah.
And that could potentially be a symbol of that, because there are a lot of people there. That's Hawaii's answer to, we don't want you to smoke because it's unhealthy. We want you to be healthy.
We're going to try to legislate.
We're going to legislate what you do in the privacy of your own home to yourself. At the same time that marijuana is being legalized across the nation, and they're still going after smoking, which has been, short of being banned, has been litigated all the way to the private sector. I mean, you can't smoke in public, essentially.
Which, I mean,
it's fine.
Without, I mean, you can smoke in designated areas. I mean,
and if you're outside, I'm sorry, if you're outside, you're outside. You're breathing in carcinogens from cars too.
Well, yeah, but you know what? I used to do it myself, and that's why I know that this goes on. I know people that especially when it's cold outside, they don't want to walk too far, so they stand right outside the fucking door.
Yeah, and I'm
smoke.
not.
I don't want to walk through that shit when I'm walking into a building. Go away from the door.
10
and smoke.
feet. I mean, 10 feet away from the door is fine. That's really the law.
Yeah.
In hospitals, it's 50 feet.
Yeah. So the next one is that it guarantees. Hold on, I lost my spot. Guarantees safe, affordable, adequate housing.
How can you guarantee that?
That's kind of how I kind of thought too. Is like, how do you guarantee safe housing?
Right. Well, I mean,
because you can afford. I mean, you can guarantee affordable housing, I guess. And
some standards there, because affordable housing is generally going to be apartment-ish kind of
or like
structures,
row houses or something like that.
And they're going to be owned by somebody who's, is responsible for maintaining.
Not having slumlords.
Exactly.
But how do you guarantee safe housing? I don't think you really can.
Safe and adequate. I mean, what do you qualify as adequate?
Yeah. I guess that kind of goes back to.
Do you have a room for every person and a bathroom and a half for every two people?
Yeah.
I mean, where do you draw the line?
And that's why I kind of come back to now. After I go through this, I see why it got pulled off her website.
Well, and
but these
what's
are still
bothering me is that there's, first of all, she didn't replace it with anything. Her party, her
she did. It was replaced with vagueness.
Well, that's even worse.
Yeah.
It would almost be better not to replace with anything. That's my problem, and it concerns me that a lot of that was there to begin with, because it either shows that someone wasn't paying attention or somebody actually believes this shit. Because I'm on her side. I'm on that side. Yet that 90% of that I think is bad ideas.
So there's two more. So the next one is it guarantees economic environment free of monopolies.
That's honestly the only one so far that I haven't had a problem with.
Yeah, because you can't. How do you argue with that? No, I want to have monopolies.
Right.
Monopolies are good. Monopoly is a fantastic game, I guess.
Well, they're good for Apple and Amazon.
Yeah.
So
and we already said the last one, which is economic security to all who are unable, or my favorite part, unwilling to work.
Yeah. Yeah, no. If you're unwilling to work, you deserve to be homeless.
Yes.
Because that's what happens when you don't fucking work by choice. If you are unable, that's a different story. But if you're unwilling, because none of us are fucking willing. Nobody gets up every day and goes, God damn it, I can't wait to get to work.
Some people do.
Maybe some, but the vast, vast majority.
There are some days that I look forward to going to work.
I'm not. I have no problem going to work because it's a necessary thing. But given the choice, I would rather not.
Okay. I mean, fair
Does
enough.
that sound fair enough? And I don't have a problem with what I do. I like the people I work with, so it's not torture to go to work. But again, given the choice, I would rather stay home. So, if I can have economic security without working,
yeah.
and then that's a choice offered to me. I don't know. I wouldn't take it just out of principle. But I do not represent the vast majority of people.
No.
We know for sure people would take that in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah. I guarantee it. So they had some other statements on there after these proposals, right? And there's one header that says, "How will we pay for the Green New Deal?" And what she posted on her website, at least I have to attribute to her because it's her website.
Right.
It says the Green New Deal is a massive investment program, not an expenditure. The question isn't how we pay for it, but what the cost is of inaction, which I kind of agree with.
With some of that, if those things
hold
are...
on, let me finish, though.
Go ahead and finish it.
And what will we do with our new shared prosperity created by investments in the Green New Deal, is what it says. Which kind of makes me kind of go back to, so every time Republicans pass tax breaks, Democrats say, well, how are you going to pay for it? And they say, Republicans always have the same answer. Oh, well, it'll pay for itself through prosperity.
Right.
Isn't that
trickle
the same?
Down. It'll all trickle down.
Isn't that the same fucking thing she's saying there?
Yeah, it's as vague as it can possibly be because it will have to be paid for.
Yeah.
A lot of that, especially given that very last one that drew your attention to it. The people who are unwilling to work are going to be a drain without they're draining from the system rather and not giving anything back.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
or as Mitt Romney famously said, they're takers, not givers.
Well, and there's truth to that. If they're unwilling to work and they're just taking, then they're fucking takers.
Absolutely.
What he was talking about was just everybody who's not a millionaire.
Yes.
But so basically, what I'm saying is there has to be some. Do you think she said it like that in a way where she knows that she would have to raise taxes?
Well, let me finish.
Because otherwise, she knows, but she doesn't want to say that.
No.
Or is she really completely lost in the idea that this will pay for itself?
So the second part to that, it was the rest of the line for how we pay for it says we will finance the investments for the Green New Deal the same way we paid for the original New Deal, World War II, the bank bailouts, tax cuts for the rich, and decades of war, with public money appropriated by Congress, is what it says.
Which is fucking taxes. Okay, but see, again, that's not very clear on who's getting that tax bill.
No,
because as painful as it would be if it meant every human being in this country, every American citizen, had health care and they would not have to worry about it if they got sick and their loved ones got sick. $90 a month doesn't seem so bad.
Yeah,
it still hurts and I still don't like it, but that doesn't seem so bad. But if you're going to tack on more onto me to cover this Green New Deal, when the corporate tax rates and the 1% tax rates are already lower than what I'm paying on a check by check basis as it is,
which is why Bernie Sanders has another proposal out, which I wish I would have wrote it down. Okay. But he actually breaks down
how he pays for it. And I know he's big on going after the rich.
And that's where a lot of the taxes go to. It's returning tax rates back to what they should be.
Say circa 1996, maybe?
Oh, even like 1980 when it was like 70%.
Yeah, I know that's too high.
The top tax bracket was 90% until JFK dropped it to 70.
I don't think it should go above 50.
And then Reagan took it. I think it was Reagan took it from 70 to 35.
Right. it's just harder to sell. If we can get it above 15%, because that's where it's at now.
Yeah.
That's where Trump got it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, now granted, I'm just talking on a paycheck to paycheck basis. 25% of my check goes to taxes, where his base tax rate is 15%.
Yeah.
So why is it I mean, granted, I'll get it back. My base tax rate is about 13%, but that's still 13 and 15%. We're essentially paying the same percentage, and I have less to show for it because I'm not a fucking millionaire.
And that's why I think
it doesn't make any sense. So 15% is way too low. I think 70% is too high. Let's find a happy medium.
The 70%, you're talking about people that are making tens of millions of dollars are the only people that are going to be getting that 70% tax bracket.
True, but they're the ones who control everything. So we're going to have to try and sell.
Okay,
that.
so anyway,
we still have to try and sell that.
I think Bernie Sanders' proposals work better because the math
works better.
At least theoretically works better.
I'd be happy if we could get the rich back up to 35%, because I think that's a reasonable goal. You are never going to get them be above that. You just never will.
I don't think you're ever going to get them above 15%.
Probably not. And if we keep electing Republicans, it'll go. It could go lower.
Yeah, probably. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a. I'll go back to my original statement. I agree with some of the proposals in this. I think it was a very poor branding idea to go after this big umbrella term with the kind of information that they've put out there.
Right. When if they could just sell it simple, if they could just do it in a simple
That's what
way.
I said in the beginning.
Yeah.
Sell it as, okay, we have an idea for economic prosperity moving forward. These are the proposals we want. Right. We want to do, and
it's green jobs, green fucking jobs.
Well, and kind of going to that, there was one more point I wanted to make. There was a question about the Green New Deal hurting communities that rely on jobs created by the fossil fuel industry. And it says that the Green New Deal will ensure that all communities have a better alternative for high wage work before they transition away from fossil fuel industry work industry based work.
That's simple.
I mean, how do you do that in rural West Virginia?
It's simple. You go to those places first, and you offer them the training, and when you start building the infrastructure for it, you start building it there. You make that commitment to them, to the coal miners, and say, look, get out of the coal mines, get into the classroom. We're going to teach you how to build solar panels. We're going to teach you how to build wind turbines, and we're going to teach you how to build electric batteries and motors for cars.
But the problem is
it's that simple. And then they're in a factory doing clean work that actually helps the environment, not in the coal mines, and we fulfilled a promise to them not to take away their jobs, but to give them, like you said, an alternative job that's just as lucrative and healthier.
What seems more realistic to me is, the government would go in, or private businesses would go in to, I'm going to go back to rural West Virginia communities,
right,
and say, okay, this is what we want to do, X, Y, and Z. We want to move you away from your coal job into these.
Right.
Realistically speaking, they're not going to be fucking interested in it, because these coal factory jobs, these dirty jobs are, and I don't want to,
not degrading.
I'm not trying to bash on them or anything for what they do, but this is their way of life, and it has been their way of life for 150 years.
But if you point out to them that way of life is going to end regardless.
But not when you have people out there saying we're going to be bringing your jobs back. We're bringing the coal industry back. They're not going to. We know that. They're still going out of work, and then we're giving them the alternative. We're not saying we're bringing your jobs back. We're just saying
your jobs are gone, but here's a good.
I understand that. I understand that, but I just see it's going to be a very hard sell.
It is. It's going to be a hard sell
in a lot of the country.
That sell is easier if we actually make those promises and adhere to those promises.
Yeah. I don't know.
And if that's what we do, yes, it's going to be slow moving. But once people start seeing, okay, these guys are we're getting these jobs, we're getting this training. They're here. The jobs are here.
Yeah.
Bob down the street isn't in the coal mine. Where's he been? Well, he's been in class. He's working on solar panels for houses. He's making the same amount of money or more than what he was making before, and he's not covered in soot every day, and he can breathe again.
No, I understand.
Once they start seeing it, it does make a difference.
Like I said, I just see it. It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a hard sell.
It is
in a lot of parts of the country.
Everything the Democrats are going to want to do is going to be a hard sell. The key is they need to learn how to sell it, and they need to learn who to sell it to.
Yeah.
Stop campaigning. Don't fucking worry about California or New York. Don't go anywhere near that because they don't. Your vote is you've got those votes. Go to West Virginia. Spend your time in West Virginia. Go to the rural parts of Ohio, Indiana, Michigan,
the Rust Belt.
Yes, and point out. This is what we need to do. This isn't about what we want to do. This is what we need to do.
Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah. And I agree. It's just, I don't know.
West Virginia won't have any coal mines if half the fucking country gets flooded because the pole melts.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just go back and say that I think it's just kind of a poor branding.
Yeah. They don't know how to sell the message. No. And they don't know who to talk to.
Yeah,
to me it's that simple. Stop trying to fuck the money. Don't take the PAC money, which a lot of them aren't. A lot of them still are. Don't take their fucking.
Most of them still are.
Yeah. Don't take the PAC money and just do it like the old timers did it. Like the old politicians.
Actually, go out and talk to people.
Go out and talk to people,
and not go to your little
fundraisers and
pre-planned town halls where questions are scripted.
Bernie was doing some of that in 2016. He was just going places.
I know.
Do that more.
Yeah.
That's what's going to win. If you do that, if you can get one or two good Democratic candidates doing that, not all of them. There's too many of them anyway. Get two of them, two doing that, all across the country, talking to the people in the poorest areas, the people who are truly struggling, and tell them, look, we want to get you working. We want to get you those jobs.
Are the people that'll be up for the nomination.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it makes Trump look even worse because of how he spends his fucking weekends golfing with his rich buddies.
Yeah.
If you're out there talking to them and tell them, look, I'm here. It's Saturday afternoon, and I'm here talking to you because you're the person I want to work for.
Yeah.
What's Trump doing? He's golfing right now.
Oh, no, I understand.
He's taking his executive time. Yeah. So
can I get some executive time? I want some executive time.
Yeah, it's basically what executive time is 45 minutes of work and 2 hours of rest.
Hey, that sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to everybody.
Sounds like Trump wants to be one of those unwilling to work kind of people.
Yeah. Well, he has been. I mean, think about it. All his life has been just making ideas that don't fucking work and then letting other people fuck it up for him.
Yeah,
I mean, that's all he's ever done. You don't casinos don't go out of business.
No, I know. Yes.
Unless somebody's doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And as dumb as Trump is, I just don't think he was doing anything. He was not involved. He's like, hey, casinos make money. Let's do casinos. Build casinos, put a bunch of money into it, and then let other people fuck them up.
And then walk away with the money.
And then walk away with the money. Exactly.
I don't know. That's kind of all I had on it. I don't know if you had to.
No. I mean, I think
hopefully we've enlightened some people on what the.
Hopefully.
On what the. Oops. Hopefully, yeah.
If anyone out there is still awake, let us know if you've been enlightened. I say that. I mean, I think we kept it lively. It's politics.
It did. Yeah.
It's politics. It's a lot of information and. We're.
I think we did a pretty decent job of not being too anti one side or the other. I think we kind of attacked the Democrats more than the other thing on the. And I think you almost have to because it's their proposal.
It's their proposal, and we know what is there to attack. The Republicans, they're not hiding.
They have no ideas.
Well, they have no ideas, and they're not hiding their desire to trash all these ideas.
Yeah.
And all we were really doing is pointing out what they're going to attack, as well. So,
well, that's all I got though, Ian.
Yeah, nothing else I can.
So I mean, if you want more information on the Green New Deal, there's plenty of stuff online.
Yeah, look it up.
Just
a lot of good stuff.
Just try to stay on reputable websites, please.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's just it's stuff that's going to have to require a lot of tweaking as far as how it's talked about in the public square. That's all.
Yeah, if you go on a website and the name of the website sounds like some crazy guy in his back shed,
It's probably some crazy guy in his back shed.
it probably is. But anyway, you can email us any questions or comments to contact@lifeingeneralpodcast.com. Like I said before, we're on Twitter, Facebook, all that jazz. Check out our website, lifeingeneralpodcast.com. That's about it. Anything else?
When you
again?
say all that jazz, do we have jazz fingers?
You're going to hell.
Well, yeah, not for that. So,
All right. Well, until next time.
talk to y'all later.
Peace.
Play my role, let me tell you about it. This shit right here, man, I'm about it. Only real niggas reside around me. Yo, old lady, drop a guard around me. Dip like I know you can, bitch. Show me the ropes like we in the ring. Got you two cobras, you wanna hang. Shoulder to shoulder, them niggas basic. You know I won't lie. You know that I ain't for that fuck shit. You niggas alright, but I'm way better and she love it. Know that y'all sick as fuck. Here go this tissue, bruh. We taking the dub. Hoping you get you some. This hit like a pick me up. She taking my drugs. Know they see the sign. That's some dollar sign. Know they sick as fuck. Know they sick as fuck. Tell them get well soon. Tell them get well soon. Know you sick as fuck. Get well soon.
Oh shit. Watch out, you done called Billy. Oh shit. Right now, and I'm smiling in your face, bitch. With a gold smile, you should probably make placement to your eye. Niggas sick as fuck. Standing with niggas who down for that party. Who down for some bitches who showing their bodies. Swear to God, nigga, this Molly got me up and rolling. These bodies of water. Bring that shit in bottles. We mash at the party. They hate when we style it. Wildin' out of the party.